What is going on, Frag fam? I hope you guys are all doing well today. Elliot here, and welcome back to the Fragrance Well. It is now time for another edition of the weekly fragrance rotation, and I gotta say I had a pretty good rotation this previous week. Number one, I got to wear a number of my latest additions to my collection. 3 fragrances are new to my collection, and I do believe new to the channel, at least to some extent. And number 2, I got to experiment with a concept that I don't really do, which is spraying fragrances very, very heavily, as the title does imply. So I am definitely excited to share with you some of the wearing experiences for me this previous week. So let's not waste any more time. Let's get right into it. Before we do, as always, please remember to like the video, subscribe to the channel if you do like the content, and please hit that bell icon, enable notifications so you can be notified when I upload new videos. And remember that I will have links to the fragrances featured in the video down in the description below. Let's get into it. Alright, for Sunday, I had a good old-fashioned spraying of Eau de Nothing. I didn't wear anything on Sunday. Sunday was pretty much a recovery day for me in terms of my mind and my body, and I guess my nose too, because by the time I even thought about wearing a fragrance, the day was pretty much over with, so I just chose to skip it. So we're just going to move on to Monday. Monday did have a scent of the morning and a scent of the day, so for the scent of the morning, it's coming from Versace. It is Man Eau Fraîche. Versace Man Eau Fraîche. Still a fragrance in my collection that is just a good go-to if you're running some quick errands. I can't remember what I did that morning, but it was something that I guess was somewhat outside, or at least I was gonna have to go outside. Again, I can't remember what it was, but ultimately I sprayed this to do whatever it was, because this definitely wasn't the scent of the day. So that it is what it is. This is a fresh, kind of tropical, fruity, woody, musky scent. It smells clean. It smells pleasant. I think the given fruity note in here is star fruit. I think that's an imagined note, because from what I remember with star fruit, it's very, very tangy. And this kind of has that, but not really. It's kind of smooth. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. Man Eau Fraîche, great scent for a lot of people. I would say it's probably not the hype beast that it used to be. There's obviously a newer release, or should I say a new flanker of this. I know some people have gotten their nose on it. I have not yet, but I do plan to, because I do really appreciate what this fragrance is. But anyway, that was the scent of the morning for Monday. So once again, from Versace, this is Man Eau Fraîche. All right, let's move on to Monday's scent of the day. It is coming from Filippo Sorcinelli. This is Opus 1144. Filippo Sorcinelli, Opus 1144. Any of you guys out there familiar with this house or with this fragrance? Let me know down in the comments below. It's not a new fragrance house, but the brand is new to my local niche perfumery, which is where I got this. And I got this the Saturday before this week I'm talking about started. Went over there, checked out some new stuff. The person there showed me this house. This fragrance just stuck with me. So what is this, first of all? This is a spicy powdery fragrance through and through. It's like a collection of spices. I can't really put my finger on one specifically, but you definitely pick up some spice. You definitely pick up the powdery facet of it. It's more of a dark powdery fragrance. It's not very fresh, and it is got some earthy notes, some resinous notes. Oh, by the way, this is like a concrete mix. This cap is actually concrete. I don't think it's like 100% concrete. It's some kind of compound that basically, I guess, is a lighter form of concrete. But yeah, this is, if I threw this at my screen, I would break it. So that's very interesting. Obviously this is a new fragrance to the house. So spend a little bit more time talking about it. That's basically the smell of it. All I can say is this stuff is intoxicating. I can't stop smelling it, and it is also extremely powerful. You don't need a lot of sprays for this stuff to last all freaking day long. And I gotta say, man, I love this stuff. Plan to spend a lot more time with it. Maybe I can give a little bit more in depth of a breakdown of it. I don't really want to look at the notes right now or anything like that, but that's basically what you're getting. It's spicy and powdery with this kind of earthy feel. From when I remember reading the write-up for this one's basically inspired by a building of a particular cathedral or old church. The guy who created this house is an artist. He's extremely creative, extremely artistic. He apparently has even designed clothes or robes for the Pope at some point. And then he dove into fragrances to further express his artwork. And a lot of his stuff is definitely going to remind you of churches. He does a lot of incensey, resinous fragrances. He's even got a fragrance line out where the cap is literally like the Pope's hand, and it's like life-size hand. It's like a life-size hand. So very, very interesting bottles. Very, very interesting array of fragrances. He does make a number of different things. It's not just that, but just kind of wanted to point that out because I know that's a relatively unknown house in the community at large, and I'm pretty sure most people have not heard of this fragrance unless you happen to live in areas where the fragrance was more present. All right, so that was Monday's scent of the day. Once again, the house is Filippo Sorcinelli, and this fragrance is Opus 1144. All right, guys, let's move on to Tuesday. We do have a scent of the day and a scent of the evening. So the scent of the day is also a new one in my collection. It's coming from Fragrance du Bois. This is London Spice. Fragrance du Bois, London Spice. All right, couple of things about just this fragrance in general. Number one, this is my first Fragrance du Bois in my collection. I've smelled a number of Fragrance du Bois, but I have yet to add one until now. And now I think I want to add some of the other ones I've had my eye on for a while. This fragrance here, I had smelled it before, but it was like briefly. I just knew I liked it, and I kind of just said, you know what, let me just go ahead and grab it. I got a good feeling I'm going to like the fragrance. I was right. I don't just like it. I love this. I think this fragrance might have jumped into my top 10. I'm not even kidding. It's that freaking good. So, as the name does imply, yes, it is spicy. You could say it's kind of a cardamom-like spice. It's a very heavy cardamom. Not quite as bright as sometimes you see in some fragrances. Really great lemon like citrus in this, an amazing lavender. It's like really herbaceous, spicy lavender, this clean woodiness to it, and just a dash of like a rich sweetness as well to kind of round out the entire fragrance. Fragrance is relatively simple, but it is done extremely well. Smells of the utmost quality. Basically smells like a London gentleman. In my opinion, this is a signature scent worthy fragrance, something I can easily wear on a daily basis, easily wear to work, which is what I wore this for this particular day. And I just think the fragrance is amazing. It may not necessarily be for everyone, but I will say if you are a fan of like the aromatic fougere to some degree, this one may be worth checking out, especially if you like the old school style stuff, maybe a little bit simplified in terms of the spicy profile and the woody profile. I think you would be a fan of this scent. So once again, from Fragrance du Bois, this is London Spice. All right, guys, we're moving on to Tuesday's scent of the evening. This one's coming from Creed. It is Millésime Impérial. Creed Millésime Impérial. All right, so what did I do that evening? I played drums outside. I've talked about that so many times, I'm not going to go into detail. It was the long outdoor gig where I'm playing drums. First of all, let's just go over what the fragrance is, just in case you don't know, but it is an iconic scent profile at this point. It's this very fresh, slightly fruity, woody, aquatic, musky fragrance. Smells great, kind of has a smell of the 90s. It's a scent DNA that was very much synonymous with like the late 90s into the early 2000s. There's many fragrances that have this smell copied after it, took inspiration from it, and even from Creed in general, there's other fragrances that came out around the same time that have similarities to it. Now, normally this is not a fragrance I would go for that particular use, me playing outside like that, especially in the middle of summertime, because usually I go for fragrances that are a little bit stronger because I'm going to be hot, I'm going to be sweaty, I'm going to be dirty by the end of the night, especially with the humidity at the top level that it is right now. But I wanted to go a different direction. Number one, for whatever reason, I just wanted to wear a Creed that evening. It was either going to be this or a Ventus. And I also thought to myself, like, okay, I can't spray those two fragrances my normal amount because it's just not going to be enough for that use. So I'm going to up the sprays. I'm going to do that, and I normally don't do that. Well, I ended up going with this one because frankly, as hot as it was, I think this was just a better choice for super hot weather in general. And I did about 20 sprays. It was actually about 18, but you might as well just call it 20 at that point. Now, I have never actually done that with a fragrance. I normally don't do that. Normally, if I feel like I need a fragrance that will withstand an environment that it's not really good for, I'll just pick something else. But I chose to go a different route today, and I sprayed this 18 times within this very room. First thing I noticed was that, as I think I've said before and I've noticed before, when you spray fragrances super heavy like that, two things typically will happen. Number one, you'll notice the deepest bass note that maybe is not so obvious in the fragrance really start to come out. For this fragrance, it's a note of ambergris. It got a little bit kind of fishy in this room when I sprayed this fragrance that heavy. I got that ambergris smell. Now, I like that ambergris smell, but others may find that a little bit weird. got that little bit of kind of that fishy, eggy, deep, watery smell, which you don't get from this fragrance when you don't spray it that many times. Second thing you will get, and I do think this is true for fragrances that may be perceived to be a little bit weaker than the super, super strong ones where you don't need to spray them a lot, you can get some added performance from spraying fragrances that heavy. You're not gonna get more projection. I don't think you get more projection necessarily. Because those base notes are now super heavy on your skin, they're gonna last a little bit longer just because there's simply more of it. That's pretty much what happened with this. I could still pick this up by the end of the night. If I had sprayed this like 5 or 6 times, it would have been gone. It would have dissipated just because of the harsh wearing experience. But because I sprayed it so many times, by the end of the night, even though I was sweaty and dirty and all of that, could still smell the fragrance. I often say with Creed Millésime Impérial, this fragrance does not have a longevity problem. It has a projection problem for people that complain about it. The fragrance wears relatively light. It's not a heavy pushing fragrance. And even when I spray this lightly, I can pick up on those musky elements, even a little, I guess a little bit of that ambergris as well, way later on after me spraying the fragrance. But it's just light on the skin. When you spray it really, really heavy, it's a little bit more noticeable, but it is still detectable. All right, so once again from Creed, that was Millésime Impérial. All right, we're going on to Wednesday, and we only had one scent of the day for Wednesday. It's coming from Montclair. It is La Cordée. Montclair, La Cordée. All right, so this one here is, for me, always a good standby, always a good quick grab and go, always a fragrance you can just spray on and forget it because it will simply work. Had to run a couple of errands on this Wednesday, and this was just a good scent for that. And then like on the second half of the day, I had to make a quick drive out of town, do some quick work, and then come back. And this fragrance here lasted the entire day for me doing all that. So this is basically, I like to call it a lemon peppermint tea fragrance. That's the picture that comes into mind when I smell this scent, but it's a relatively simple scent with some bright citrus, a really nice tea accord, and the base note, as is actually in the name, à la cime du cyprès, which is cypress, is cypress. And I perceive cypress to kind of be this slightly herbaceous, green, woody smell that smells a little bit therapeutic. It's like a distant cousin of eucalyptus in my mind. I don't know if everybody perceives it that way, but that's how I like to describe it, at least at this point, kind of based off how I perceive it in this fragrance. I love wearing this stuff. It's always just a good fragrance. Like I said when I introduced it, you can just wear it and go. And it's one I've kind of been neglecting this year because I wore it a lot last year, but I was happy to pull it out for this Wednesday's activities. Worked out perfectly. So once again, from Montclair, this is La Cordée. All right, we're moving on to Thursday's scent of the day. This one's coming from Louis Vuitton. It is Pacific Chill. Louis Vuitton Pacific Chill. Technically, this was a scent of the afternoon and evening because I didn't spray it on until that time. Why? Another one of those outdoor drumming gigs where I was, gonna be sweaty and hot and all that, blah, 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 blah. We don't need to go through all that again. What is this fragrance? Basically smells like a fruity green smoothie. You got fruity notes, really nice lemon-like citrus that I really love in the opening of this scent. And at the base, it's kind of vegetal. And there's kind of this slight fruity sweetness to it. It's more fruity, tart, and green than it is sweet, but there's a hint of sweetness in there. Now, I've worn this fragrance for this exact same occasion before, and I've probably sprayed it maybe 10 times, which is appropriate for that scenario, especially when it's hot like it is right now and humid. Instead, this time I chose to go 20, so I did the same thing I did with Millésime Impérial with this one to also see how that translated. Now, I've never had a problem with this fragrance kind of sticking on the skin. I just wanted to see what would happen if I sprayed it really, really heavy. Guess what? I picked up on some elements of the fragrance that I otherwise had not picked up on before. There's a listed note of dates in this fragrance. I always felt like I get a concept of dates in this scent, but I didn't really smell them outright until I sprayed it 20 times. I could really pick up that dates, accord, note, whatever you want to call it, in the fragrance. Maybe it wasn't 100% like dates, but I got it. I'm like, okay, you know what? That's definitely a note of dates because I can smell that. Because the smell of dates is very particular. I think it's really recognizable if you have ever experienced it before. I don't really like to eat dates, but it's like you can't forget it. I know what it's like. The other thing I picked up on was this like carrot characteristic in the fragrance. If I'm not mistaken, the listed note is carrot seed. Now, I don't know what carrot seeds smell like. All I can say is it didn't smell like straight up carrots because that smell is undeniable. but I could understand the carrot seed concept. So let's just say I picked up on some elements in the fragrance that I otherwise hadn't really noticed because they're present, but they're tame in the fragrance when you don't spray it a million times. It's not normal to wear a fragrance like this and spray it 20 times, regardless of even if that is necessary for a specific use. Usually people don't design fragrances with the intent of you spraying it that many times. And as I've stated, you really don't have to spray that that many times for it to do what it does on regular occasions. But this was a specific occasion where I wanted to make sure the fragrance would last. So that's what I did. And hey, I got a cool experience out of it. Once again, from Louis Vuitton, this is Pacific Chill. All right, guys, moving on to Friday. Got 2 fragrances for Friday. Scent of the morning, scent of the day, or more so the evening. Scent of the morning is going to be coming from Arabian Oud, and it is Diwan. Arabian Oud Diwan. So this is a fresh, spicy, woody musk fragrance with like a splash of a fruity note in there. Super easy to wear, super pleasant, super palatable, and also kind of powerful because I had only sprayed this twice. Usually when I wear a scent of the morning, it's because I'm running some quick errands. That was pretty much the case this morning. I can't even remember what it was, but I sprayed this on to go do those things. And I only sprayed 2 times, like behind my ears. And I'm like, good grief, you would think I sprayed it 5 times or 10 times because I just kept smelling it. It was pretty wild. It was just a reminder that this scent here is anything but weak. But yeah, this is just a super pleasant fragrance. Any guy can rock this. It's signature scent worthy in my opinion. And it just got me through my little morning routine for that particular day. So once again, from Arabian Oud, this is Diwan. All right, guys, so we're moving on to Friday's scent of the evening. It's coming from Azzaro. It is a new addition to my collection. It's Forever Wanted. Azzaro Forever Wanted. Now, my longtime viewers might be shocked to see me have a fragrance like this. Let me just tell you a quick story. Maybe 2 or 3 weeks ago, I stopped by Dillard's in Jacksonville, which is a really, really good Dillard's for fragrances for the most part. And they had a lot of the newer designer releases and I wanted to check them out. I had actually been way behind on checking out new fragrances. I have to say, with this latest round of fragrances, I actually like them. Wouldn't quite go as far as impressed, but I like them. And this one was one of them. I haven't really been a big fan of the whole Wanted fragrances. The only other Azzaro Wanted fragrance I have is Wanted by Night. And then after that, I feel like they just kind of kept doing the same thing over and over again. I will say this one is definitely related to those Wanted fragrances, but it uses a leather accord, and that's kind of the X factor for me. That's the thing that made me say, you know what? I might grab that. Here it is. It's fruity, it's leathery, it's got kind of that amber woody base that does tie it to the other Wanted fragrances. Also, I think this is like their Elixir release, but they just didn't call it Elixir, which I appreciate that because I'm getting sick of the Elixir name thing. It's just, frankly, it's just lazy at this point. But overall, I like this scent. You could say it's like a toned down, more youthful version of something like a Tuscan leather. Just because of that fruity aspect. I think the listed note is raspberry, so that kind of ties it to it. The leather here, very much a designer leather, but it's not a fresh leather. It does have a little bit of bite to it, but not too much. It's still palatable. All I can say is I like the way this comes together. That's all it is. You guys may think I don't like designer fragrances. I like designer fragrances. I just don't like what designer fragrances have been putting out recently, over the last 2 years or so, because they keep just putting out the same thing over and over again, and it's all like cloyingly sweet, and that's it. There's no other depth to it, nothing else interesting about it. Now, this fragrance is sweet, but it's tolerable sweet for me. But I like how this comes together, so that's why it's in my collection. Once again, from Azzaro, this is Forever Wanted. All right, so Saturday scent of the day, or actually scent of the evening, gonna be a quick breakdown here. I actually wore Opus 1144 again, so obviously I'm not going to talk about the fragrance twice in the video. Me and my wife were able to get out the house. It was our first time being out the house away from our child. Really her first time really being away from the child, because I travel for work, so I've been away before, but we were able to go to a concert, get a nice meal. It was a good evening. I'm glad we could enjoy each other's company and have a great time, and I just chose to go with this because it kind of matched the vibe of the concert to an extent. So Saturday scent of the day, again, this is from Filippo Sorcinelli. It's Opus 1144. Alright guys, that was my weekly fragrance rotation. If you would like to, let me know down in the comments below what your weekly rotation was and how it went for you this week. Was there anything special about it? Did you get a new fragrance, etc., etc.? Share whatever you would like to. Would love to see what you guys have to say. Thanks again for watching all the way into the end. I really do appreciate you all. Please remember to be well and smell well. And I will see you in the next episode of The Fragrance Well. Have a good one.